Just a warning, there are spoilers in this video. Proceed at your own peril. My dude can literally shoot a projectile between the bars of a small window from kilometers away with such precision, and I can't even get a scrunched up piece of paper into the bin from 2 meters away without having to do the walk of shame to retrieve it. Or just leaving it there. And I'm Dawn of the World, and today I'll be shining a light on who in the crew will get what kind of haki. So let's jump right in. Very quickly, the 3 types of haki are Ken Bunshoku haki, observational haki. This essentially equips the user with a heightened perception of the world around them. Applications of it can vary vastly, but essentially it allows one to sense people's presence, strength, emotions, and intentions, with extremely advanced users even able to see a short period into the future. The presence of observational haki is not always an indicator of battle prowess, with non-fighter characters such as Isa and Queen Otohime being born with a natural aptitude for it. Then there's Busoshoku haki, armament haki, that allows the user to harness their spiritual energy as armor, increasing their offense and their defense. It can even be infused into whatever weapons the user may be wielding. Observational haki and armament haki lay latent in all living beings, though largely go unnoticed and unawakened for the majority. Unlike the other 2 haki types, the 3rd type of haki, Shoku haki, Conqueror's haki, is only present in a select few. It allows the user to overpower the will of those around them. If this is properly trained, the user may unlock the ability to infuse their spirit into their attacks, increasing their already immense power greatly. Of the crew, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Jinbei already have the first 2 haki types, while Luffy and Zoro also have the 3rd, so I won't be including them in today's video so much. Rather, I'll be discussing who gets what out of the remaining crew. So starting with Usopp, as he is the only one on the list who 100% confirmed does have one type of haki, that being observational haki, which he unlocked during the Dressrosa arc. It makes perfect sense for Usopp as a sniper for his primary haki type to be observational, therefore allowing him to combine this ability with his marksmanship skills in order to hit targets too far off to be seen or otherwise obscured. The first instance we see of a sniper using observational haki to hit a far off and moving target is just prior to the Straw Hats making landfall in Jaya, where Van Augur of the Blackbeard Pirates uses it to shoot down 3 seagulls that did nothing wrong. Nami goes as far to say as it's impossible that someone could have shot them down from that far off, and even Usopp himself doubts a sniper could have shot them down from the land, wondering how anyone could see them from that far. So seeing Usopp unlock the same haki ability later in the series and shoot down a target too far off to see was really satisfying, kind of full circle. Worth noting also is that he is still new to the haki scene and hasn't seemed to have done any haki training yet. I'm not even sure if he's spoken with anyone in the crew about it, and if so, it's happened off screen. The reason I'm including him in this video is to discuss the chances of him developing other sorts, yes plural, of haki. When I originally drafted the script of this video, I was only going to touch on armament haki. However, given chapter 1024 opening on some very Usopp-esque antics, I think there's room here to discuss the potential of him having Conqueror's haki, which he just hasn't awakened yet. This is of course attributed to him putting up a farce of holding this rare haki type recently in the manga, and the fact that his lies have the uncanny tendency to come true. Oda could go either way with this. While on one hand, it would certainly be cool to see a character who's generally been regarded as weak to ultimately develop such a powerful ability, there are multiple ways Oda can and already has gone about this without bringing Conqueror's haki into the equation. Conqueror's haki is meant to be an extremely rare 1 in a million ability, and there are already 2 users of it within the crew. Having said that, I like to imagine how his Conqueror's haki could manifest. Would his Usopp spell actually work on people aside from Nami, Chopper, and himself to some extent? Honestly, a kind of terrifying prospect. Maybe it's for the best he doesn't develop it. The world just isn't ready for that sort of power. Armament haki, on the other hand, he could certainly do with a slice of that. While I'm not entirely sure of the limits or restraints of ranged armament haki, its implementation combined with his pre-existing skills and observational haki will make him an incredibly formidable sniper, even more so than he already is. I could see this power up potentially happening for him in Elbaf, since from his namesake to his relationships effects he's built with giants throughout the series, to even his post-time skip outfit being very reminiscent of Elbathian attire, we've had some pretty big indicators that Elbath is going to be an incredible arc for him. It's possible if he does develop armament Haki here, it might not even be initially through sniping like we imagine. Usopp wielding fake, excessively heavy hammers has been an ongoing joke throughout the series, as well as the gag that his lies always come true. At some point during Elbaf, he may come across a giant's battle hammer, which is a regular sized battle hammer for a giant, but a colossal 5 to 10 ton mass for someone like Usopp. And with his now tanked out body, he may be able to wield it and infuse it with armament Haki. Dare I even suggest that Elbaf is based on Norse mythology, and there's a pretty important hammer in Norse mythology, but let's leave that there for now. And while right now he just has observational Haki, it should be stated that the ability to use Haki, notably observational Haki, is not always an indicator for a character's strength. I'm not really into power scaling at all, but Oda has stated that Usopp will always be the weakest member of the Straw Hats, and with that in mind, the fact that he has developed a form of Haki is a pretty good indicator that other members of the crew will as well. On that note, let's delve further in. Robin is the beautiful reason I decided to make this video to begin with. Her new form, Demonio, in chapter 1021 really had me thinking, wishfully, for a while that she had indeed developed armament Haki. And as much as I would love for that to be the case, after a few weeks on closer inspection, I don't actually think that this is armament Haki, but rather the way she was shaded. However, I maintain that armament Haki would be the most advantageous for her and makes the most sense, as currently the major flaw of her ability is that if the appendages or bodies she blooms are harmed, so is she. Developing armament Haki will not only add more pack to her punch, but would essentially and literally arm her, protecting her from most injuries. Furthermore, while they are distinctively different from observational Haki, the abilities that her fruit have given her partially fulfill the role observational Haki would take anyway. This, of course, isn't to say she won't develop observational Haki later on, but at this moment in time, armament Haki would balance and round out her abilities more than observational, giving her the boost where it's needed. The fact we haven't seen her develop armament Haki, however, and the fact she likely will, promises for more awesome battles to come in her future, and this time we probably won't have to wait 18 years. Now, Chopper, Frankie, and Brook are a little harder for me to talk about with this one. Chopper doesn't seem as obvious to me as some of the other Straw Hats. As far as we know, Chopper is the first awakened fruit user we see in the series, and that's before we're even woke to awaken fruits. After the time skip, he has gained full control of this awakened form, so where do you go from here? What is the next natural step in progressing his awakened form? Armament would be a great boost to this already powerful form and will certainly help in combat should he develop it. However, Chopper isn't primarily a combatant. He's a doctor, and Haki need not be combat exclusive. While observational Haki would definitely have its benefits in battle, there are also a variety of ways I can imagine Chopper implementing it as a doctor. He could use it to help locate injured allies on a battlefield, or possibly to sharpen his perception as to what exactly may be wrong with the patient, and locate exactly where in the body problems may be happening if it isn't obvious. And now for Frankie. Where does Frankie start? Where does Frankie end? Armament Haki seems to be the obvious choice here, but is it too obvious? Oda does like to surprise us every now and then after all. Where one could argue Robin already has a whole lot of observation going on and would therefore be inclined to develop armament Haki first, the same could be argued for Frankie, but the other way around. One could argue that Frankie already has a whole lot of armor going on and that developing observation Haki first would round out his abilities further. This could be a great advantage for Frankie and by extension the Frankie Shogun. However, the more I think about it, the more Frankie's chaotic love for the brawl wins out, and I couldn't picture him with anything but armament Haki. And now for my boy, Brook. Brook seems as though he'd be more inclined towards observational Haki. Through his music and his devil fruit abilities, he already has some kind of manipulation over souls. Given how diversely observational Haki tends to manifest, I can definitely see Brook incorporating it into his skill set, and it would be interesting to see how this type of Haki manifests with said skill set. I would love to see him weave Haki into his music somehow, to capture and inspire the hearts of those who listen, which he kind of already does. It would also be interesting to see him use it in his ghost form. On the other hand, armament Haki would also be a good match for Brook. I could see him infusing armament Haki into Soul Solid, or even into his own skeletal body. This would make his attacks all the more powerful and frightening. Before moving on to Nami, I'll briefly discuss how and when these Haki abilities might be unlocked. Haki can only really be awakened and trained in intense and extreme situations and in battles against stronger opponents. Luffy's observational Haki was trained and strengthened extensively during his battle against Katakuri, who had the ability to see seconds into the future. A character whose observational Haki, from what we've seen so far, could only be rivaled by that of Admiral Fujitori's, who's physically blind and literally uses observational Haki to see. The first hints of a Haki awakening in one of the Straw Hats was actually long before we learned what Haki was. It was during Zoro's fight against Dust Bones in Alabasta, where moments before a potential death, he finds himself hyper-aware of the world around him. Much later on during the Dressrosa arc, being somewhat of a mirror to Alabasta as it is, we get another Haki awakening. This time it's Usopp, and his drive and will to protect his and his friends' memories of Luffy is so strong that it results in his Haki awakening. Unlike Zoro's first Haki moment, by this point in the series, all of us readers and viewers know exactly what was going on, and it was a very exciting moment because I don't think anyone was expecting Usopp to develop Haki then and there, and it was such a satisfying moment that the anime kind of ruined as who's surprised there. And on the note of the anime messing around with things, recently in the manga, Zoro has been confirmed to have Conqueror's Haki as well. And like Usopp during Dressrosa, it was confirmed during a moment where he was protecting Luffy. Every time we've seen a member of the crew unlock some form of Haki, it's been in either a life or death situation for themselves, or fueled by their drive and ambition to protect someone they care about. Now I'm going to talk about Nami. Nami tends to be more of a long-range fighter than a hand-to-hand combatant. Of course, it makes more sense for her to develop observational Haki. But what if she already uses it, but neither she nor us nor anybody else realizes it? And what if her particular manifestation, like Isa and Queen Otohime, was something she was born with an aptitude for, and we've already seen it in action? Before even Zoro's moment in Alabasta, meaning out of the entire crew, I'm going to suggest that Nami may have been the first person in whom we saw evidence of Haki. This incarnation of observational Haki could possibly be her uncanny and even superhuman ability to predict the weather, something that was even addressed by Vivi during the start of Drum Island, during which a sick and highly feverish Nami was able to predict an extremely sudden shift in the weather. Nami can do all of this while sick, and yet my housemate Christina can have every clue in the world it's going to rain, yet she'd rather get on my case about something petty before going out with nothing prepared. The very fact that Vivi takes such note of this ability really makes me think that there was something going on here. Maybe it's not Haki, but it's something. Something is up with Nami and I'm not sure what. However, Nami's never shown to have this kind of ability outside of a weather climate related situation. That being said, if this is Haki, perhaps it's because she hasn't trained for it and this is just the raw latent ability laying dormant within her. But I feel as though Haki or not Haki, there's something more to her abilities that we aren't aware of. Something she herself likely isn't aware of, given the ambiguity of her origins, but maybe that's for another video as well. The main takeaway is that the fact she's preconditioned to have superhuman observation when it comes to unpredictable weather patterns primes her as an ideal candidate to develop observational Haki if she hasn't already. Let me know your thoughts, questions, theories in the comment section down below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're interested in any of my upcoming One Piece content. I'm Dawn of the World, and I will see you next time. Bye guys!